is throwing its weight and perhaps its money around. MP, of course, was unusual in as much as the BJP got a slightly greater share of the popular vote in the state elections in November, December, but won a fewer seats. It now seems to have found a way of making up the numbers. I wonder how. We don't yet know who might be crossing the floor, but I think this is going to be a sign which will terrify Congress, because you could see this potentially happening in other states as well. So really very worrying. But then Congress has made its problems more acute. Rahul Gandhi was talking repeatedly about making space within the party for a new generation, and yet when they won Madhya Pradesh,
he was talking about himself only.
No, it does seem that may be what he meant. It was code for himself, but I think most people assumed that there was a cohort of people who would start to get really top jobs. And then in Madhya Pradesh, Kamal Nath was chosen. I don't think that was with a view to the future, and it may be that's been an expensive decision.
One of the calculations is that the old hands know how to raise money for an election, which is why the Kamal Naths and the Gehlots of the world were installed as chief ministers, whatever the calculation may have been. Do you think they should have waited at least till Thursday to make this move, the BJP?
They could have waited, but this was in the offing, you know. Even after the assembly elections were won, as you said, by a very slim margin by the Congress, there are only 5 seats ahead, I think, 5 or 6. Moves had already started, you know, to destabilize that government. Kamal Nath is an old fox, you know, he knows how to manage things. So, you know, BJP sort of stepped back after they failed in Karnataka. But this was always going to happen, because this is sweet revenge for Shivraj Singh Chauhan, who's very popular, Mamaji, in Madhya Pradesh. And those who know Madhya Pradesh 20-25 years ago, there's a sea change. You know, people didn't have electricity for more than an hour or so. There were no proper roads, you know. So he's been a very popular as well as successful chief minister. But the local candidates, I mean, the candidates chosen for the assembly were very unpopular. Almost 80-90 of them were not considered winnable. And I think the mistake BJP made was to field a lot of them. So I think what's going to happen is that they're definitely going to try to bring the Congress government down. How they'll do it, we don't know. But it's not that difficult. If 3 or 4 people defect, Congress will no longer have the majority. And this will be sweet revenge. And I think that this was always, you know, in the offing. It was only a matter of time. And I think they will wait till the actual results come out. And they will consider the Lok Sabha thing to be a mandate if they really win, saying, look, you lost your legitimacy now in the assembly because we've got so many seats, people don't like you. You know, they'll use that argument, I'm just saying, and they're going to try to bring this government down.
You were saying, Lord Desai, that the opposition doesn't matter. I think that's what the Modi-Shah combo also believes. They're not content with wins. They want everything. Even Vajpayee worked with an opposition, but these guys only talk about Congress Mukt. They do not want anyone in the opposition. I mean, and this you think this is a sign of things to come?
The BJP, the Congress is behaving in a very peculiar way. Because when you think of Madhya Pradesh, one of the reasons, and Mayawati already had said before the voting, that she was not happy with the way Congress was cutting into the votes in the UP. And if it turns out that Congress had really hurt the BSP will withdraw support from the Congress in Madhya Pradesh and bring down the government.
2 or 3 now. One is defected.
I was saying opposition doesn't matter, because if you look at it from the outside world point of view, outside politics point of view, India has been handed a fantastic prize of 5 years of responsible, strong government.
But you need a strong opposition to keep a strong government in check.
Sorry?
You need a strong opposition to keep a strong government in check.
No, for economic progress and for good development, you know, opposition is all right, but not necessary. But opposition is good for keeping democracy alive, keeping diversity there. But if you want to have long-run policy planning, infrastructure building, clean India, you know, health, Ayushman. For those things, you need a guarantee that 5 years the same people are going to be in power.
Absolutely.
And they will be able to achieve the goal of, for example, if we had healthcare, if we had universal healthcare in India, that would put India far ahead of any of the emerging nations.
You know, but
and only India has a scheme like that.
State elections.
So that is what I meant by saying opposition doesn't matter. If you want to consider about the growth in India, welfare in India, it's what the government is going to do, which is crucial.
But what they're trying to do in Madhya Pradesh specifically, A, do you think they can pull it off? And B, do you think that they should have, the timing could have been better?
Probably so, but there's kind of enthusiasm now to act. And beside that, they have the governor. And so when you have the governor on your side, and you probably have groups within the Congress who are, negotiating.
The governor, by the way, is not supposed to be technically on your side.
We all know, in fact, that governors do get involved in that. That's part of the real world. And the other part of the real world is you talk about politics. Now, the Congress Party may be declining, but not the regional parties. The regional parties still get about 1/2 the vote. And that's been true for several elections now, versus the two national parties, the Congress and the BJP. And that's going to continue. And that's where the BJP has got to relate to parties at the state level. It's got to relate to parties who are strong regional parties. For example, at West Bengal and several of the southern states. And that's the BJP problem, is, they talk about cooperative federalism in their manifesto, and that there'll be some kind of linkage between the two. But they've allowed in many of their states to operate in a very corrupt manner. And have been very inefficient in economic delivery. So the center has got to sort of somehow work out a system to have improved delivery of services and less corruption. You have right now what you have in many of the BJP states is you have inefficient government and a high level of corruption. And in fact, that also plays in the public mind, because you may not have the corruption at the top levels like you had in the last administration, but you have petty corruption at a massive level.
Right.
Talk to any businessman who has to operate and how they have to deal with the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy now has enormous freedom to do what it wants to get money. And one only has to be in business to know that.
I think this is a different topic. Like federalism is a totally different topic. But I think...
what happens in Madhya Pradesh? The likes of Mamata Banerjee will say, look, this is what I was talking about. It's already started happening.
Next is going to be Karnataka. You're not talking about that.
Or West Bengal?
Kumaraswamy, Deve Gowda is very unhappy with the Congress. He's even publicly wept at the humiliation that he experiences on a daily basis.
Yeah, the whole family, it runs in the family.
He's a good tearjerker, but that's not the point.
All of them.
I'm saying that's going to be on the crosshairs next. It's going to be Karnataka after Madhya Pradesh.
But, we talk about the maturing of democracy, which actually means our side has won again, usually, for the people who are using that phrase. But I wonder whether it is a maturing of democracy when we are basically going to have one nationwide party.
Yes.
Once upon a time, there were three. There was BJP, Congress, and the Communists had at least a claim. Now we've got, we don't quite know where we're going to be, of course, on Thursday, but the Congress is going to be a little bit threadbare in an awful lot of the country. And that really makes me quite concerned about
until these assembly wins, there was
democracy.
a time when the map of India, if you looked at the states which were being ruled by either party, a huge chunk of India looked saffron.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And
no, I completely agree that the nature of government in India is set to change in a radical way. It's going to be the dominance of a single party, which means the onus on them not to go the authoritarian way or not to, ride roughshod over all the other parties, the smaller parties. That onus increases enormously to behave responsibly, generously, and to protect India's federalism. I think these are going to be the challenges of governance, which counterbalance the advantages that you mentioned, which is economic progress.
When Congress was strong, it did not treat provinces very well. I mean, look at the Kerala communist government. Congress went out of its way to get a popularly elected government dismissed because of all kinds of chicanery.
Yeah, but two wrongs don't make a right.
At that time.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
They're not good. They're not good.
Right. We're told that Kamal Nath has made a statement. We'll get it shortly. We're trying to make a point.
That's where the issue of federalism comes in, because the Congress, you're right, ran roughshod. And the interesting thing about Madhya Pradesh and the issue of federalism is how is this government, the central government, going to react to making a change in the government in Madhya Pradesh? Is it going to run roughshod or not? The temptation is going to be enormous to do so. And you'll find it in Karnataka is going to be hot on the heels of that, because Karnataka in some ways structurally is more prone to division. You have two parties in which the smaller of the party actually has a dominant position in the state. I'm sure the BJP is going to sort of try to make use of that.
They tried very hard just after the assembly election.
Sure. You know, they're going to continue to do it.
They failed, and that didn't reflect very well on them either.
Exactly, because in a way, that's what I'm saying. They botched it up in Karnataka. They didn't want to repeat that mistake in Madhya Pradesh. So in Madhya Pradesh, they waited. They're biding their time. And you should have seen Shivraj Singh Chauhan's, when he conceded defeat, he was so gracious, and he said, politics mein unch neech to rehti hai.
Yes.
Hum log intezar karna bhi jante hain. I mean, he spoke like a great statesman, but it seemed to me that they were holding their cards and they're going to act when the time comes. And this time they're going to do it properly. It won't be a botched operation, And of course, Kamal Nath is a formidable adversary because he has access, as is reported, to tons and tons of money. And I think that money matters in India hugely. And I don't think the states are corrupt the way you said they are. But, I mean, in fact, with Modi and with BJP, the role of the fixers and the middlemen has really shrunk, if not evaporated.
Right. I think Kamal Nath's statement is in, and he has said that the BJP has been trying since day one. They've been trying this. And he says, I've proved majority at least 4 times in the House in 5 months. I will do it again if they want me to prove majority. This is what he said.
तो पहले भी कर रहे थे, पहले दिन से कर रहे थे. पिछले 5 महीनों में 4 दफे हमने अपनी बहुमत सिद्ध करी है. अध्यक्ष के चुनाव में, उपाध्यक्ष विधानसभा उपाध्यक्ष के चुनाव में, सप्लीमेंट्री ग्रांट्स के समय, बजट के समय जो हम बजट लाए, 4 दफे तो कर दी. ये फिर से चाहते हैं, हमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
Do you believe that factionalism in the Congress party is going to hurt his chances sooner rather than later?
I mean, Madhya Pradesh, the Congress party is clearly a divided house, and it can't help. Whether people will cross the floor all the way to the BJP, I don't know, but the BJP must have some reason for saying that they would win a floor test, and Kamal Nath has got no option but to agree to go along with it. What else can he say? I mean, I think if you're a member of a party which has had a second severe drubbing at national level, your morale is low, you're wondering what on earth your future is in that party, you are often very tempted by the blandishments which the governing party at the national level can offer. But what Makarand was saying there was basically you're saying that the BJP needs to show strategic restraint in its dealing with other parties and smaller parties. I don't get the sense that that's what Amit Shah's BJP is about.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying that the challenge of federalism will require the BJP at times not to bulldoze its will onto everybody else.
They will have to learn to do that, is what we're saying.
That's right. But no quarter will be given when it comes to, Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka, and I'm sure Congress would have done the same. So we're not mixing up these two things. They're going to go for the jugular in Madhya Pradesh and Karnataka, no doubt about it.
I think we'll see more of this if the Congress indeed loses this election. When the Rajasthan election results came out and the oath-taking ceremony of Ashok Gehlot was being organized, reporters on the ground said that we saw people making 2 sets of arrangements. Mr. Gehlot came in and he said we need to do this, and then such...